Are you ready? Because this week is the finale of Demons Forever. So we have episode 21 today, obviously showing as a premiere, and this is an intense episode that it's all been leading up to these two episodes, y'all. This entire series has been leading up to these two episodes, and I'm so excited to bring it to you. So we have this today. On Wednesday, we will have the finale, and it will be live. So no premiere. I will actually be presenting it live, along with a few other little bonuses besides just the reading and some special giveaways. So be sure to join us live on Wednesday if you can. I will anticipate that we will probably go over the hour. So plan to join us for an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes if you can. And then on Friday, once all of that is wrapped up, I will be at the Magic Kingdom that day with my family celebrating Halloween. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to go live for the coffee chat on Halloween in the park. So stay updated on that. I will keep you guys updated on my social media about whether that's going to happen. It may just end up being live from my Airbnb, but I will let you guys know about that. And then on Saturday, we have another special event we're doing a Netflix teleparty. So more information coming on that during Wednesday's live about what time that will be and what movie we're going to watch, but you will need your own Netflix subscription. So I don't want to exclude anybody, but if you don't have your own Netflix login, you won't be able to watch the movie with us. And there's just no way around that really. So hopefully everybody that can watch it with us will join in. So I'll be sharing with you what movie we're going to watch and what time that's going to be on Saturday. I'll share that with you during Wednesday's live. So Sunday for Halloween, we will also have some bonus things coming up that day. I don't know that I will go live, but I will keep you guys updated. And I actually misspoke because Friday for the Friday coffee chat, I will not be in the Magic Kingdom during that day. We will be in Animal Kingdom, but we have the park hopper, so I am not sure where I'll go live from, but I'll keep you guys updated. But on Sunday, on Halloween Day, we will actually be at the Magic Kingdom. So I'll either do a special bonus live from there, or I'll have something pre-recorded that will go up for you guys. So there should be multiple extra videos coming throughout this whole thing. I hope that you guys are enjoying the Spooktacular. It's always such a fun thing to put together. And I hate that I couldn't do it like bigger and better than last year just because I am obviously slightly limited with everything that's going on the road, but I hope that you've been enjoying it nevertheless and enjoying the fun of this time of year, not only with me and this community, but with your families and your communities at home. So we are going to dive right into episode 21. This is such an intense episode, and I have so many memories of writing this because I won't go into all the stories, but a couple of things. So one story that stands out to me that is just a good memory of it is like, this is where I really started to understand the limitations that I had placed on my storytelling ability by having to only have one point of view. So the whole series up to this point, as you know, has just been from Harper's point of view. And because it's first person, I cannot show you anything that's happening with Andros or Jackson or Harper's dad or Lark or I can't show you anything that's happening except right where Harper is and what she can see with her eyes or what she might hear from a portal stone or, a communication stone. But because we're in her head, we only know what Harper knows. And that was extremely limiting when I'm trying to write an epic battle that's taking place basically in multiple places on a huge battlefield in the woods. She can only see so much. And as it stands right now, what we saw, she's actually trapped in the ritual room with Lark. So she doesn't even know what's going on. Whereas later, when I revisited this series to go back and write book 7, I realized I've got to start writing multiple points of view so that when these characters are in different places or they're having different experiences, I can still show that part of the story because the story itself and the world had expanded beyond just what Harper could see and know. And so that was a big learning moment for me as a creator. And one of the reasons that I love being an indie writer, because a lot of traditional publishing, they wouldn't have allowed me to continue writing the series and change the way the points of view work. It just wouldn't be done. But I get to make my own choices. So there were some people that were discombobulated by it, like confused, or they don't like the multiple POVs, but that's okay because as a creator, I have to continue on telling the story the way I feel that it was meant to be. And I think most people appreciate the way the story has expanded since I took it out to 4 points of view. But who are those 4 points of view? We don't know yet because we don't know who survives this last battle and who becomes important. So I won't say who it is, but we will move on today. And I also remember having this big whiteboard in our office. George and I shared an office. We lived in a smaller townhouse that was only about 1,000 square feet. And we had this one small office that we shared. It was just this small little room. And we had a big whiteboard on the wall. And I remember him standing there like, okay, if Jackson's over here, what's happening over here? And where's Andros? And where's this? And where's that? And it was so fun to like figure out the logistics of that fight and how it all is going to go down and how they're going to, go play, how the battle will play out and everything else. And so I still have photos of that, and I will share that with you guys on Wednesday, some of the photos of that whiteboard, because of course there's spoilers, so I won't share it yet. But anyway, as we stand right now, they got ready. They started the ritual. It seemed like it was working, and then something didn't work. The whole spell just fizzled for some reason, and then they hear attack up above, try to rush out to go help. The door is blocked. It's Lark. Lark is not who she says she is. She and her mother are both under permanent glamours to look like the people called the Chens, but secretly they are descendants of Priestess Winter. So now Harper is like, oh, it's on now. I'm going to have my revenge. So here we go. Episode 21, chapter 83. I trusted you. Lark's eyes grew wide, surprise and fear sending her stumbling backwards toward the stairs. She kept shaking her head, unable to take her eyes off the sizzling corpses of the scorpions. I raised my hand in the air, and the stone beneath her feet obeyed my command, rising up in a wave to send her sprawling head first into my arms. I gripped her shoulders tight. "Look at me," I said, my voice trembling with anger. She choked out a sob and ran her hand under her dripping nose. "I can't." I reached up and grabbed her jaw between my thumb and index finger, forcing her eyes to mine. I stared straight through them, hoping to send my message straight to her soul, if she had one. "I loved you as a sister," I said, my heart breaking. "I would have given my life for yours." She raised her hand to my wrist and pushed, trying to escape my grip, but I wasn't ready to let her go. "I don't give my trust easily, but I trusted you," I said. "I should kill you for this, for putting us all in danger." A whimper escaped from her lips as she struggled against me. I looked toward the entrance to the ritual room, where the other girls stood frozen. "Release them," I said. "Whatever spell you're holding them with, undo it." I let go of her jaw and forced her to turn around. With shaking hands, she cast a new spell, sending a darker stream of energy toward the others. With audible gasps and chokes, they came back to life, stumbling against the stairs, horror written across their features. The others came down to stand beside me. "How could you do this?" Angela asked, staring at Lark. "This whole time it was all just an act?" "I never wanted it to be this way," she said. "This was Harper's choice." "Now the barrier," I said. We didn't have any time to waste. "Take it down." Lark shook her head. "I can't," she said. "The way the magic works won't allow anyone to open that barrier except Priestess Winter herself." I lifted my hands, flames springing to life. Lark cowered. "Priestess Winter knew we were coming this whole time, didn't she?" I asked. "You told her about our whole plan. This was an ambush." Lark pulled away, attempting to run. I sank my power deep into the earth, then lifted up with all my might. A cage of stone rose from the ground, trapping her inside. She beat her hands against the barricade, but it held firm. "Tell me why the ritual failed," I said. "It was working at the beginning. I could feel it. What happened?" She shook her head, scratching her nails furiously against the stone until her fingers were bloody. "You must have known we wouldn't be able to free Airden," I said. "If it had any chance of working, Priestess Winter never would have let us get as far as we did. What did we do wrong?" She stopped clawing at her cage and stared at me through prison bars made of earth. "Tell me," I said. "I need to know." She sniffed, tears running down her face. "You were missing one piece all along," she said. I shook my head. That's not possible, I said. We went over it 12 times. We had every item from the original ritual. Every item except one, she said. You never had the Master Stone. My breath stuck in my throat. But the Master Stone is here, I said, looking back at the blue stone embedded in the floor. The portal stone. No, she said. You assumed the portal stone and the Master Stone were the same thing. I just confirmed it for you, making you think you were right all along. The ritual was never going to work without the Master Stone. Priestess Winter wanted you to believe it would, so that you would put the ring back where it belongs and reactivate the blue gates. I brought my hand to my forehead. Piotrek and the others? My head pounded. She lifted her chin. Probably dead by now, she said. Once they placed the ring near the stones, more than 12 hunters appeared to take them down. Hunters led by an old friend of ours, Lydia Ashworth, or what's left of her. I clenched my teeth together. This was my fault. I'd trusted the wrong person, and now my friends were dead. I had to find a way to make this right. I had to find the Master Stone and complete the ritual. I searched my memory for any reference to another stone during the rituals I'd witnessed, but there was nothing. Where is the Master Stone? I said. Does Brooke's mom have it? The stone belongs to Priestess Winter, she said. Like the ring, there's only one for all the blue demon gates. I've never seen it, but I know she keeps it with her at all times. You'll never be able to get it from her. Above us, a loud boom shook the earth. More of the ceiling caved in around us. I lifted my hands over my head and moved toward the stairs. We had to get out of here before this whole thing fell in on us. The others followed me. Lark, trapped in her earthen cage, fell to her knees, her straight black hair falling down around her face. Please let me go, she said, coughing as bits of dirt rained down on her. I don't want to die down here. I stared down at this girl who I'd thought was one of my best friends. You should have thought of that before you betrayed us, I said. I placed my hand against the stone, knowing that with a single push it would cave inward, crushing her beneath its weight. Harper, don't, Marianne said, coming to stand beside me. Tears of rage welled up in my eyes. She deserves to die, I said. But I knew Marianne was right. I couldn't kill Lark. Instead, I brought my hands together, squeezing the rock tighter to create solid walls. At the very top of the stone enclosure, I left a tiny hole, big enough to let in air so that she could breathe, but just small enough that a butterfly couldn't pass through. Chapter 84, My Destiny. A battle roared above us. We have to get up there, Marianne said, pounding against the black barrier. Essex is up there. Jackson's up there too, but even if we find a way out, we're going to need a plan. I grabbed her arm and pulled her back toward me. There's no time for a plan, she said. I'd never heard her voice so full of panic. Listen to it out there. They need our help. We won't be able to help anyone if we're all dead, I said. We have no idea what the situation is up there or who's in control. What should we do? Sarra asked. She wrapped her arms tight around her body. My mind raced ahead, searching for some solution. I looked up, remembering the battle with the Crow Witch. When she left this room, she hadn't bothered with the steps. She blew a hole in the roof and flew away. I know how we can get out of here, I said. But then what? From the sound of it, I think the fight has already reached the inner circle. Please, Marianne said, her eyes begging. I knew she was right. We didn't have time for some elaborate plan. Okay, but I'm going first, I said. As soon as I give you the signal that it's safe, you can come up. Where do we go? Sarra asked. Get into the woods, hide somewhere in the trees. I said, don't rush into anything. Watch the battle and see if there's a safe place to join the fight. They stared at me with eyes wide, full of fear. If we're losing and there's no hope, get the hell away from this town as fast as you can. What are you going to do? Angela asked. I'm going after the Master Stone, I said. Energy rushed through me. The ritual may have failed at the end, but we'd almost completed it. All that was missing was the Master Stone, and Lark had said Priestess Winter kept it on her at all times. If I could just find it and get it down here, maybe I could still complete the ritual. It was our only hope. I turned and started up the steps, but Courtney reached out to grab my hand. "Here," she said, "give me your other hand." I placed both hands in hers as she poured new power into my body. It filled my core as if someone had plugged me in to some never-ending source. "Thank you," I said, a strong current flowing beneath the surface of my skin. I pushed everyone back against the stairs, then gathered my strength in the palm of my hands. I reached out to grab the earth above the ritual room. With a great yell, I pulled the ceiling down, rocks and grass and dirt falling to the floor. A massive hole opened up, the dim light of the dreary day pouring in around us. I stepped forward, climbing over a mountain of earth, upward toward my destiny. Chapter 85, Bloodbath. I ascended into hell. Spells flew through the air. Trees blazed with orange fire. A misty haze hovered above the area, blocking out the sky. Lights flashed all around like gunshots in the darkness. I swept my gaze across the area, quickly taking in the scene from one side to the other. I searched for Jackson, praying he was still alive, still fighting. Leah commanded a group of archers to my left, their purple arrows flying deep into the woods. Andros and the resistance held the perimeter against the advancing witches of the order. I saw faces I recognized fighting against us. Brooke's mother, Ella May, the sheriff. The ground beneath them was scorched and dead, demon power sucking the land dry. No one had gotten through to the center of the ritual circle yet. I motioned to the others below. "There," Marianne shouted as she joined me. She pointed toward Airden's statue. "I see Essex. He's alive." My heart skipped a beat as I followed her gaze, searching for Jackson. He was supposed to be commanding the center line of defense, but he was nowhere to be seen. "Everyone spread out. Find a place to join the fight. I have to find Jackson." I shifted into white smoke, then shot straight up through the air, getting far above the trees so I could get a better view of the battle. Nausea rolled over me in waves. Everywhere I turned, bodies littered the ground like rose petals, their bright red blood flowing across the scorched earth. The carnage turned my stomach. My father was right. I had underestimated the order, underestimated my own friends. This was a bloodbath. What have I done? I had led both humans and demons to their deaths, betrayed by one of my closest friends. Someone I thought I could trust. Hadn't I learned my lesson by now? I couldn't let this be the end. I needed to find Jackson. I needed to make this right. I searched the battlefield again as I hovered in the air. There was no sign of him. I knew I needed to calm down, to focus my energy on finding our special connection, but my being filled with panic and turmoil as the battle raged below. If I didn't focus, I would lose him forever. I took a deep breath in, then released it, pushing away thoughts of the battle. I let go of my worry and guilt. I let go of all my doubt and fear until I finally came to focus on one person who was most important in my life, the one I couldn't live without. My heart stilled. The noise of the attack fell away. I searched for him in my soul, connecting to the bond I only shared with him. It radiated through me like a warm sun, bright and strong. I let it fill me completely. I let it lead me. Our connection rose up from the battlefield, binding us together. Pain seared through me, but it wasn't my pain. It was his. Somewhere among the slaughter, Jackson was in agony. My eyes flew open and my head snapped to the right. I'd been searching the ground and the woods, expecting him to be lost somewhere in the bloodshed below. But he was up, here above the trees. I saw him through the haze, his arms and legs shackled. Mayor Chin held the right side in chains, while Honora held him on the left. The three of them floated on some kind of platform just above the forest. Priestess Winter hovered behind him, her hands passing in a circular pattern above his head. Her lips moved as she cast a spell that had Jackson writhing on his knees. I didn't wait for her to see me. I dipped into the well of strength in my core, then rocketed toward her. I slammed into her with amazing force, wrapping my arms around her waist and pulling her with me as we fell down toward the forest floor. She screamed, struggling against my grip. We tumbled faster and faster. I barely shifted in time, releasing her and flying out to the side, then up again. She hit the ground, bones cracking. Hope filled my heart as she lay there, her body bent at an awkward angle. Had I killed her? Could it possibly be that easy? I wanted to search her, to see if I could find the stone, but Jackson's pain called me to him. I turned my attention back toward the floating platform. I flew up, circling it once before coiling ropes of demon smoke around the shackles Lark's mother held in her hand. I broke the chains in two, then grabbed one end and yanked until she stumbled and fell to her knees. I dropped the chains, ready to face Honora. Before I could, Jackson pulled her forward with his free hand. No longer bound by whatever Priestess Winter had cast on him, he shifted to black, slipping out of his restraints. For a brief moment, he was human, his green eyes seeking mine. The love I saw there fueled my strength. I whipped around, my focus settling on Lark's mom, a second in the Winter family, a spy and a traitor, a murderer. But as I made my move, an invisible power wrapped around my chest, knocking the breath from my body. I tumbled in circles, spinning out of control, unable to move my arms or control my powers. I thrashed with all my strength, struggling to breathe, to fight. The barren ground above the ritual room barreled toward me at great speeds. I skidded across the rocks, skin scraped from my cheek and arm. I winced and tried to stand, but my legs failed me. On the ground, a blue stone glittered in the light of the fires that burned all around us. Sarra's protection stone. I scrambled forward, my palm closing around it just as the black heel of a boot ground into my forearm. I looked up, taking in her blue skirt and white button-up shirt, so prim and proper for a battle. She must not have expected to get her hands dirty today. I pulled my arm from under her foot and lifted my eyes to her, hoping she could see the hatred I held inside. "Did you really believe this was a battle you could win?" Priestess Winter asked with a sinister laugh. "Your kind has been underestimating me for centuries." Warm blood trickled from the wound on my face, and I was pretty sure my leg was broken. Still, I braced against the pain and forced my body to a standing position. "This isn't over yet," I said. She narrowed her eyes at me, and I moved to shift, planning to come around behind her. Before I could change form, 2 hands grabbed me from behind, breaking my focus. I turned to see my captors and instantly knew them by their white blonde hair and light eyes. Sarra's aunt and great-aunt, thirds like her. Guardians trained to protect the priestess. They twisted my arms tight around my back while Priestess Winter approached. "You're wrong," she said, gripping my chin in her hands. "It was over the moment you came back to Peachville." Chapter 86, Afterworld. I cried out, pulling and twisting to try to escape. "Look around you," Priestess Winter said, motioning to the circle of fire and destruction that surrounded us. "Your battle is lost. Your friends are dying. Soon, your precious Jackson will be locked in a statue next to his brother, and your throat will be split wide open, your essence transferred to a new family." "No," I said, my voice a cry and a shout, a prayer. "You're wrong." If I could only figure out where she was keeping the Master Stone, I might have a chance. If I could somehow find it and take it from her, she might grow weak enough for me to injure her. It was my only chance. My eyes hungrily searched her for any sign of the stone, a ring, a bracelet, a pendant of any kind, but she wasn't wearing a single stone that I could see. Nothing shimmered or glinted under her clothing, but I could feel it. Its power hummed in the air around us. She had to be hiding it somewhere. "There's no point in struggling," she said. "This will all be over soon." She cupped her hands together and a bright light formed inside. The heat of her spell radiated from her, and I pulled back, desperate to get away. The thirds gripped my arms tighter, and I winced. I tried to focus, to shift, but I was too aware of my human form. I closed my eyes, breathing in. I started to let go, but panic washed over me and my eyes snapped open again. I thrashed and kicked, screaming out in frustration. This was the moment. Do or die. I couldn't let this be the end. I had to be strong. I searched my soul, dipping into a hidden well of power just as Priestess Winter sent the light flashing toward me. I shifted, slipping from the hold of my captors and reforming just beyond their reach. They recovered faster than I expected, and 3 spells hurled toward me at once. Energy hummed through the air, and I screamed, unable to shift again in time. I stumbled backward as each spell made a direct hit. Sarra's stone burned my palm as it absorbed some of their magic, but it wasn't strong enough to take it all. I opened my fist and the stone fell onto the ground, shattering to pieces. I stumbled again as pain ripped through my body. I fell to my knees, reaching toward the sky as if hoping to find something I could hold on to, something I could use to pull myself back up. But there was nothing. My strength faltered, and I collapsed. The 2 guardians began casting spells, and I knew they were meant for me. I pushed myself back up, refusing to give up. For the sake of everyone who had ever fought against the Order of Shadows and everyone whose lives had been destroyed by them, I would fight until I had nothing left. A flash of light and a ball of flame rocketed toward me. I pushed my hand away from my body, palm out, forming a shield around myself. Their magic turned to black sand against my shield, and I tasted the dry darkness of the guardians' hearts, their dark magic. It choked me, and I doubled over, coughing uncontrollably. Metal clanked as Priestess Winter conjured iron chains that rose up from the ground. Shackles closed around my wrists and neck. She pulled forward, and the chains shortened, bringing me to my knees. Everything moved so fast and happened all at once. One of the Winter Guardians sent a spell flying toward me, but just before it hit, a red light crashed into it, causing it to explode too early. Marianne appeared at my side, her hands glowing deep red. She shot her power out toward the Guardian like a laser. Essex joined the fight, coiling thick black smoke around the throat of the other Guardian. Priestess Winter conjured 6 small knives that hovered in the air around her. I'd seen her conjure the chains before, so I should have known she was talented with metals, but I hadn't been expecting blades. I thought she would turn them on me, and I prepared to shift. But then I followed her eyes and saw that I was not her target this time. Her gaze was locked on Marianne. I shouted her name, but she couldn't hear me over the roar of the battle around us. I pulled against the chains, time seeming to move so slowly as Priestess Winter launched the daggers toward my friend, their tips ripping through the air. I shifted, slipping from the chains and launching myself across the ritual circle. I moved faster than I ever had before, the world a blur around me. The blades caught me midair. They sliced through the flesh in my side, my arm, my thigh, then disappeared into thin air, their damage done. I fell to the ground, the force of the fall knocking the breath from my lungs. I breathed in, but no air came. I panicked, clawing at my neck, begging for life. Finally, my lungs opened up, and I inhaled with a terrible gasp that left my throat raw and sore. I exhaled and struggled to draw another breath. My wounds sobbed, blood gushing forth like tears. My body grew cold, and I began to shiver. I hugged my arms tight around myself and closed my eyes. A battle drum beat inside my ears, my blood pumping fast, spilling onto the barren earth that cradled me close. When I opened my eyes, the air in front of me shimmered, and for a moment, I wondered if this is what it felt like to die. Was this my demon spirit leaving my body? I waited for the end to come, feeling no regrets, knowing I had given my everything, done all that I could. I had been a true warrior. If my father had been here, he would have been proud of me. Then, suddenly, he was. He leaned over me, his silver eyes filled with tears. "Dad?" I said, lifting a bloodied hand to his face. I was sure I was hallucinating. I'm here, Harper. He glanced down at my wounds, then ran a shaky hand over my hair. He pressed his lips tight to keep them from trembling. He seemed so real, a welcome vision to my weary eyes. I'm dying, I whispered. He shook his head. No, he said. You're being reborn. He placed a hand over my heart, and a great warmth radiated in my chest. I lifted my hands to his, running my fingers across his skin to see if this was all a dream. Are you real? He laughed through his tears. Yes, he said. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. You were right. I was afraid. Like so many others, I lost everyone I ever loved to the Order of Shadows. My mother, my father, Claire. He paused at her name, closing his eyes to hide his pain. I gripped his hand tighter, letting him know that I understood. I was so scared that if I loved anyone again, the Order would take them too, he said. I let my fear keep me from really spending time with you and getting to know you. I let my anger and my pain close my heart off from you and your sister. I told myself that if I didn't let myself love you, it wouldn't hurt when you were taken from me. The warm energy he poured into me reached all the way down to my toes, rolling through me like a wave, healing me from the inside. My strength began to return, and I lifted my head slightly. I drew in a startled breath, and my mouth fell open. A shimmering dome of light covered us, locking the two of us inside. Spells of light and poison erupted against its surface. Priestess Winter beat her angry fists against the dome, but nothing could penetrate his shield. But I loved you anyway, he said. I've always loved you. You and Angela, you're a part of me, and I had turned my back on you. When I realized it, I gathered my people together and we came here, but I was too late. I saw you fall to save your friend, and my heart broke all over again. I reached my other hand up to his shoulder and gripped it tight, wanting to tell him I loved him too, but unable to find the words. You were right, Harper. He placed a second hand over my heart. Some things are worth dying for. Light and power and love rushed through me. The ache of the wounds and broken bones disappeared, and I felt my open flesh close in and heal over. I shook my head, finally understanding. Wait, I said. I tried to sit up, to pull at his hands and make him stop. Don't go. He smiled down at me. It's the only way, he said. My life for yours. My face crumbled and tears filled my eyes. In my culture, an elder passes from this world at a moment of his own choosing, he said. I choose this moment with pride, knowing your life is a worthy one, knowing you are the true leader our people have been waiting for. His eyes began to close, and his voice faded as his energy left his body. I rose as he fell. I lowered him gently onto the ground, then buried my face inside the folds of his uniform. Tears of gratitude and sorrow soaked into the golden fabric as he hugged me close. I love you, Father, I said, sobs shaking my body as I felt his life slipping away. He struggled to reach something at his side, and I sat up and wiped my eyes. He lifted a silver sword from its sheath, then lay back against the ground. His breathing labored as he passed it into my trembling hands. The jewels embedded in the hilt shone in the light of the glimmering dome overhead. "My father's sword," he said. His voice was barely a whisper. In the tradition of his people, he emptied the last of his power into one of the stones, a final sacrifice. Set them free. With one last exhale, his body went still. Slowly, a white mist lifted up and hovered over him. It sparkled with a radiant light. I lay the sword across my lap and pressed my hands tight against my heart, the skin still warm from his healing power. I watched in awe as the mist shimmered and sparkled, filling with lights of every color imaginable, as his spirit passed into the afterworld. I knew I was going to cry. I was trying not to. Sorry. That decision to end his life in that way was one that was hard to make because, you kind of want every character to have their moment of victory and to move forward, to keep moving on. And there's something so unfair for Harper and for her dad to be like, I finally get to know you, but you never really opened up to me. And when he finally opened up and realized that she was teaching him how to love again, it was too late. He got there too late. And I think that is something that we all can learn from in a way that, don't forget to really tell people how you feel about them, that you love them, that you shouldn't keep your heart away from them just because you're scared of getting hurt. It is a difficult scene because Harper was dying. She was going to die. And she was sacrificing her life for her friend Marianne. And then basically her father comes in at the last minute. And, I have this very clear picture, if this ever does get to be made for Netflix or something like that, have this clear picture of this battle just raging around them and Priestess Winter just beating on this dome of shimmering light as he lay there cradling her in his arms. And that moment that she says, I rose as he fell. So as his energy begins to drain from him, they switch places, her in his arms and now him in her arms as he hands her this sword that was his father's, and places the last of his own energy and life force into the stone for her to keep. And then that last moment of, I believe in you, of his final words saying, set them free. And it's a good moment, but it's a sad moment too. And it's how are they going to move forward from this? How does she rise up from that experience and this loss to win? Will she survive? Who will survive? Will they defeat Priestess Winter? So Wednesday's episode will be the epic finale. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Oh my gosh, now my heart is breaking all over again. And there are going to be some tough moments throughout the series, but book 12 is going to have its own tough moments, and I'm not sure I'm emotionally ready to get to handle them yet. There's just a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope some of you are also crying tears of sadness at the loss of Harper's father, she never really got a chance to hear his stories about her mom and all the things that he could have taught her had he been willing to open his heart instead of holding back from her for so long. And it's the tragedy of knowing why and sort of understanding why he was so scared, but then all that time lost. It's so tragic. It's so hard, but the battle still continues. So this is Monday's episode 21. And we do have a giveaway going on in the Coven and on my website today. If you want to enter that, I will have the link for you down below. So hopefully you guys will go enter that. And thank you so much for being here and for watching me cry and all this. But I will see you guys on Wednesday for our finale episode and a few other little treats that we will do. Then on Saturday, Friday for our Friday coffee chat, hopefully from Disney parks, we'll see. And then Saturday for our Netflix teleparty, and then Sunday for the grand finale moments of our Spooktacular. I love you guys. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye.